So what I wanted to do was to introduce malaria and then talk a bit about what I'm particularly interested in. And I thought I'd structure the talk around three different items from the popular media. And the idea is really to show you that the types of things we talk about as scientists are very much rooted in things that we talk about in everyday life. A lot of the ideas are very straightforward. And I guess one thing that usually starts talks on malaria is how big a problem it actually is. And I was quite struck by this, having worked on malaria for quite a while, I was still quite struck by this that I found in the, somebody sent me from the Radio Times in the UK. 700,000 people die of malaria each year, mostly children and mostly in Africa. And just this slide just puts a scale to that and puts it in context with many other things that we find frightening and big in the news. So what it says is, well, you already read it probably, but if you sum up all the people killed in terrorist acts and major wars, that says every life lost in the Middle East since the Six-Day War, add that to every American life lost in Vietnam and Korea. These are all based on very much bias towards American conflicts, but if you add all those together, there would still be half the number of people who die of malaria every year. And we as scientists are often thinking a lot about how to get funding for our work. And this is just, again, putting in context the amount of money spent on military spending versus malaria, total budget for malaria, cost of spending for malaria. So that's the first piece of media. The second is this 1956 poster from a film called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I don't know if anyone's seen this film, but it's got the themes are very much those that are shared by people doing parasitology research. And what happens in this film is that these aliens come down from I don't know where, and they take over people's bodies and make them. They actually create replicas of everyone, and those people start behaving in very unusual ways. And what's scary about this is that it's as is written here, incredible, invisible, and insatiable. And then something is happening. Send your men of science quick. But what's important about this is that some extremely sophisticated aliens have manipulated people and reproduced people and made them behave in very unusual ways. And that's what's scary about it. But what is quite often we often don't realize about parasites is how sophisticated they are and the way that they manipulate the people that they infect. And particularly, there are examples of parasites which will change the behavior of the hosts. And ultimately, the parasite is using the human body to reproduce itself. So instead of aliens from another planet, we have these mosquitoes. Here, that's the Anopheles, and you can tell by the angle of the abdomen to the head, whereas this one's bent in the middle. That's the Culex. This is Aedes in its stripy. But we have to spare a thought for the mosquito. They are also the victims of the malaria parasite as well. And I've got a video here just to show you what sort of thing we're dealing with when we're talking about malaria parasites. This is a wing of a mosquito. And I'm hoping this video is going to work. Right, who can see the sporozoites? There's one coming. See, so they're swimming through the wing vein. I think there's another one on its way. Can you see them in this light? There's another one there. So after they've gone through that, they'll end up in the salivary glands of the mosquito, and then they're passed on to when the mosquito feeds on people, they end up in the blood, they'll swim to the liver. The first phase of infection is the liver. And then when they come out of the liver, that's when the infectious forms, the merozoites, which infect our erythrocytes, are red blood cells. They emerge, and that's when the actual disease of malaria starts, when these parasites invade our red blood cells. And this is another video to show you another aspect of their behavior, which is specifically invading human red blood cells. So these are the merozoites here. Here are the red blood cells. See, that one's targeting the red blood cell, and in a few seconds it will, it's given up. Oh, it's gone in another way. See, it's going in now. There you go. So that's... Okay. So the next stage. What happens when they invade human blood cells? This is when it becomes a bit like the film Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Because the parasite actually inserts its own proteins into the surface of the red blood cells, the erythrocytes. And this is a cell that's been body snatched by parasites, and you can see, I mean, it's been coloured differently, but its whole appearance is different. The surface changes, and this is an infected erythrocyte that's binding to 3 uninfected erythrocytes. They become sticky. This is a bunch of infected erythrocytes which are binding to an endothelial cell, and these endothelial cells line the capillaries of tissues. And the result of that is that parasites accumulate in tissues. And this is a slide taken from a person who died of cerebral malaria. And this is a single capillary in the brain of that individual. And you can see it's completely full of parasites. They're parasite-infected red blood cells. And you can tell that by the fact they're pigmented. You can see the parasites there. And so my research, we're particularly interested in the molecules that the parasites insert into the surface of the erythrocytes. And I've just highlighted where they are there. Okay, so that's the end of the invasion of the body snatchers bit. The third item is this cartoon taken from an Australian newspaper. And I gather he's a well-known criminal who is very good at disguising himself. But why this is relevant, the themes that come out of this slide that I quite like are the fact that there's something constant about each disguise. You can tell that it's him underneath, but your eyes are drawn to the disguise that is being used by this Tony Mokbel. The other thing is that some of the disguises are likely to be more useful than others. If the aim of a disguise is to move unnoticed in a crowd, some will be better than others. So that one would be quite good. This one, probably less good. Hold that for a minute. Why this is relevant is because parasites, we've said, they re-engineer the surface of the erythrocyte. But in doing so, they become observable by the immune system. And nicely illustrating this, these little red spots are parasite-infected red blood cells. And if you rotate them in serum from an immune individual, they all stick together like this, form these big agglutinates, showing that individuals, as they grow up, they learn to recognize the surface of infected erythrocytes. And why this is important is that parasites have multiple copies of these proteins, and they are able to switch between them, and in doing so, evade the immune system, just in the way that Tony Mokbel did in that cartoon. And so another theme is the host-parasite interaction. And to illustrate this is, here's the host immune system, and this is the parasite. And just like in the cartoon, he's disguised himself with different colours hats. Now, a successful rabbit is able to reproduce his family all wearing the blue hats. But as a result of that, the immune system learns to recognize that hat. And as a result, those rabbits diminish and the hats diversify. And this is exactly how pathogens behave. The parts of themselves which are noticeable are highly diverse. And what we aim to do when we're generating a vaccine is to reprogram the immune system, this is the aim, to instead of recognizing the hat, to start recognizing the rabbit underneath, the constant bits that aren't changing. So that's the end of my talk. Thank you.